Welcome to Friday Facts number 402, Lightspeed Circuits, and I have my great circuity friend. How you doing, Mojo?
Hello. Is the sound working?
Sound is
Is
working.
this thing on?
It is. Is it going to work in the recording? I don't know, because last week's recording, there was no audio captured on the audio track whatsoever, so I had to dodgy things together. But you don't know anything about that. Anyway.
Not at all, no.
This week, we have Lightspeed Circuits. I don't know why they reference Lightspeed in it, but let's go with Lightspeed Circuits. So,
Sure, why not?
we have the Radar Transmission Network by Coverix. So it might seem useful sometimes to send circuit signals over long distances. Personally, I've never used it for anything, but when we were playing testing a while ago, Boss Kid insisted that we include circuit wires in our rail blueprints, because you never know when it might be useful. I felt uneasy about it because it goes against the coding principle of write it when you need it, as it adds bloat for something which might not be useful later. But I understand that if it actually becomes needed, it would be very hard to fix later. Now, Mojo, you have a whole bunch.
So much.
What?
Oh, it gets into the weeds of... So in software development, you have all these principles, and in a lot of software developers just apply them. They get the principle, and then they get it load it into a nail gun and just shoot it at everything.
Yes.
And never really think.
Yes.
And that's why I hate it.
Yes. Yeah. The whole write it when you need it thing, I disagree, but sure. You got a plan for the future.
I get it, but don't apply it to literally everything.
Sure. So, you have rail blueprints, and they come with the wires pre-attached for the circuit network in case you want to run a long circuit signal from somewhere to somewhere.
Yes,
and
communicate between bases and outposts.
Yeah, and I've used your blueprints for years, and I've used that wire feature maybe twice. Because I don't do a lot of things with circuit network. And having it compared to not having it, it's much easier to have it. And the best thing is it costs 0 UPS.
It costs literally nothing to include.
Yeah.
Which again is why, going back to the whole applying the coding principle, is that you're just applying it without thinking. It costs nothing.
It costs nothing.
But it's just beating it with a hammer.
But I have to say, if you decide you need it and you haven't been using Mojo's rail blueprints, and then you need to get a bit of wire, and it costs one wire to connect to every power pole through your whole rail network, and you apply it retrospectively, especially if you haven't been using blueprints, so not everything's nicely, neatly the same distance apart, so you can use the copy and paste from a blueprint to put the wire in free. It gets really annoying and really expensive really quickly. That was my little rant. So this is how their rail system looked just in case. To avoid this dilemma, we add a long request feature of a wireless circuit network, wireless circuit transmission using radars. So they just went away with the whole put the wires down the power poles.
Yeah, just screw the wires, just transmit it over radars.
Yeah, there are a lot of ways to do it, but we want to keep it simple, so we decided there is a single radar channel for each surface, still separated between red and green wires. This means you don't have to configure anything. You just connect the wire and you're ready to go. If the radar loses power, the circuit connection is severed.
Which is probably the one disadvantage to running the wire. So you've got a trade-off here. You can either run the wire and not worry about losing the circuit connection, or lose power and then lose the circuit as well.
Well, if you're losing power, there's probably something more serious that's going wrong.
Potentially, yes.
By the same token, I'm imagining it's not going to take people long to make a blueprint that has a radar, a small power pole, half a dozen solar panels, a couple of accumulators that you can stamp down that won't automatically attach to the rest of the power network to just power that radar.
Yeah, that leads into the next... It is a 1% problem.
It is.
And that is you're creating an independent network with a radar, and so that's a drain on UPS.
Well, technically, technically the radar would be powered from both networks.
Technically, yeah, you could have, buffer it somehow.
Well, you could have a...
I say somehow, but there is a few ways to do it.
You can have a substation that covers the radar and then have a separate small powered network that also covers the radar, so the radar sits in both networks at the same time.
Yep.
And that works perfectly fine, and you can have all your circuit combinators in there as well, so it's in both of them at the same time, perfectly fine. But, yeah, I feel like this is missing, a whole paragraph. Like, we did this, and then I didn't use the blueprint, and then we needed wires, and then the wires were not there, and then I decided, well, screw this. I was just going to program into a radar so it was permanently solved for everybody.
I feel like there's just a big chunk of extra explanation that's just kind of missing.
Yeah, and on the cutting room floor.
Maybe some ranting that was cut or something.
Yeah, probably by somebody else who Kovacs decided to not use the blueprint, and then somebody else applied a rant in the middle, probably during their playtest. Yeah. Then we have cutting wires. Since all of our circuit network improvements have motivated me to use it more these days, I get more and more annoyed by this problem. I want to move the bottom set of combinators, but if I do it with cut and paste, the wires between the two parts will be lost, and I have to rewire it. Yeah. So I became annoyed. And I just had to add this quality of life feature to make it so Blueprint remembers the outside wire connections and tries to reconnect them if possible. To minimize problems, these connections are only remembered if using the cut tool and are not and cannot ever be transferred into the Blueprint library or the Blueprint export string.
Which would make sense, because how do you store a connection to something that isn't stored?
Well, yes and no. So if you copy the whole set of combinators, all the wire conditions are saved. If you're
saved, but if you're copying part of it that has connection to something that isn't saved, then it doesn't make any sense.
Correct, but also brings me to the question: what happens if I cut this combinator and I paste it down, and then I paste it a second time? Does that mean I get that combinator now with two sets of wires going to the same location? Which I assume I do.
That's a good question.
Because
maybe it's smart enough, maybe it's not.
Well, if there's been lots of times.
It's been checked.
Well, there's been lots of times where you want to duplicate something. You want to put the same combinator in the same two locations over and over and over. If you're setting up multiple filters to pull one item out of a long list of items coming in from the network. So the ability to cut and paste and cut, paste, and duplicate something 10 times with the same wire connections would actually be really helpful.
Yeah, it would be something potentially very useful. I mean, I can't see any reason why it wouldn't work.
It depends on how they've saved it.
Yeah, it just really depends on how it's implemented.
And depends on whether it's an exclusive one-off, and then once that's the one and done, that's it. You can't have another one plugged in. Yeah, and the GIF is not helping.
And more importantly, despite what people are crying, it's not the end of Piccadollies.
Oh, yeah.
This is a feature of Piccadollies.
Because this is a feature of a couple of different mods that allow you to physically move combinators and things around and maintain the wire connections. And yeah.
Maybe another one which lets you move wires, but Piccadollies I've seen called out specifically, but it does a lot of other stuff because it has the nudge feature and a bunch of other...
Piccadollies lets you literally
things.
Pick up a building and move it, up, down, left, right by a tile. Okay, like a whole building or a whole set of structures. You've ever put that blueprint down as just off by a tile and you really don't want to deconstruct everything and move it over by a tile? Piccadollies, you just pick up the whole lot and move it over by a tile. No.
Just tell it to move over one tile and it's done.
Yep, no mass deconstruction.
I was just going to say, I mentioned it in the preamble. I use Piccadollies to build circuit network builds. Build it out expanded and then crunch it down.
And then shove everything together. Yeah, because Piccadollies maintains the existing wire connections.
Yeah. It'll even refuse to move if it reaches maximum length.
Oh, that's a nice feature.
Yeah, it's actually really good. That's why I use it.
It's probably going to be why people keep using it, because this feature won't. They'll let you put it anywhere, I bet.
It's got a lot of other features that are really useful.
Okay. And then we have the third part of this very, very long Friday Facts, which is Lightspeed is too slow. So we need to go right to ludicrous speed. This is by our seating, which we haven't heard from since, we got the announcement of Factorio 2.0 DLC expansion pack thingamajibob coming in the not too distant future, we hope. There is no such thing as too fast in Factorio. From the first machine placed, everything is about making them faster. Faster belts, faster inserters, faster assembly machines, and speed modules make them even faster, but it's not enough. Next, you need to add beacons with speed modules, then another, and then another. But it's not enough. It's never enough. Mods push the numbers even more and run the limits of what the engine itself can handle. It's been reported a few times. He just lists 3 of them. It's been reported way more often than that. And every time because it's us sitting in the forum saying, the answers. Said roughly the same thing. Crazy numbers get crazy results. Unless the base game runs this, we don't want to make the crafting logic any more complex / fragile. Just don't do it. 1 craft per tick is fast enough. Which I think the fastest crafting in the game would be gears or iron sticks. Gears you would actually use. Full of speed. Tier 3 assembly machine, full of speed modules, surrounded by speed beacons. Which got the craft very fast. But well less than 1 craft per tick. Because
You know, the thing that's really funny about the links that that they give with the numbers is that one of the reports is actually from Boss Kid from before he was
before he was a bot. Before he was a dev. Yep.
Yep. So it's Boss Kid with a report and then RC replying with thanks for the reports.
Okay. But then space station happened, and with its legendary speed modules, and all of a sudden the base game problem, it's a base game problem, and it's time for me to eat crow and find a solution. So, handling the edge case, but don't make the main case slower. Conceptually, it's a simple fix. Loop the crafting logic if it needs to run faster than 1 craft per tick, but things are never that simple. In code-wise, years of optimization and features around assembly machines meant that any changes had to have had a high likelihood of breaking something. I didn't fully understand what each line of code was supposed to be doing and what it was actually doing. For about 2 days, looking over the code, rearranging it, and writing comments, explaining parts of myself, I had a plan for how I was going to make it work. The final changes made everything functionally correct. Took about 1 hour to write and work correctly the first try. That's impressive. Impressive. That's not.
It is actually impressive. It even says the next sentence.
Yeah, it's not meant to happen.
Supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Never happens.
Several extra tests later, and asking Boss Kid to try and break it, it was confirmed to be correct. The 2 days of analyzing and understanding the code, existing code, paid off. So now we have a Foundry which has the 50% speed bonus to start with, then has legendary speed modules, probably wrapped with beacons, also with legendary speed modules.
Oh yeah.
Crafting it, I don't know what speed, but there's 8 of the new bulk stack inserters outputting gears at the same time.
It's outputting 2 entire belts of stacked gears.
Well, they're also the new belts.
Yes, on the new faster belts.
So they run at what speed?
60 a second.
And
So
then
that's 120 a second right there.
Not quite fully compressed.
Yeah, they're not quite fully compressed. And that's also not counting the actual stack as well.
But they're also stacked 4 high.
Yeah, they're stacked 4 high. So it's 4 times 100, just shy of 120. Maybe say 100 then.
Yeah.
110? 100, 110?
Let's go with 100. So it's 4 times 100, which is like, 400. And then there's 2 belts worth. Oh, no. Yeah. So it's still like 400. Yep. We're okay at 2 belts.
For one, I'm very keen for the Gear Factory to be a single foundry, just really pumping it away.
A legendary foundry crafting a crafting at a swift 2,500% speed, completing 4.3 crafts per tick. So it's like 9 gears per second, roughly.
Is that including the productivity?
No.
Because I reckon that's got like 200% productivity at least.
No, I have no idea.
What is the base productivity of a foundry? It might not have the research. It depends on whether
I don't think it has a research one. I think it just has the base productivity of the foundry, which is 50% or something. I don't know. We'd have to look it up.
I think it was 50%. I'd have to check as well.
It's a lot. It's a lot of gear. It in theory means that maybe this will feed your underground belt assembler at full speed.
Maybe, probably won't.
At full speed, maybe. It
is getting into Factorio 2 sort of speed territory with singularity beacons.
Yeah. The underlying issue has been fixed as far as I can tell. The only limit of how fast they can now craft is how many ingredients the machine has and how much the space is available in the output slot. So the limit is per swing of multiple inserters. Well, actually, no, the new limit would be the output slot. So this has gears that has a max stack of 100, so it's 100 items per tick. Assuming you can wrap enough inserters around it to empty it every tick.
Yeah, it's just a limitation of wrapping it in inserters now.
Yeah, both in and out. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that the Foundry window is covering where the inputs are coming from.
Well, it's coming from liquid. So there's a liquid on the left-hand side.
True.
It's in there in the ingredients. So yeah.
Yeah, of course. That'd be you just use a the infinite liquid pipe from the map editor to feed it in.
Yep.
Feed in the molten iron.
So that's fast. That's fast. That's very fast. Yeah. And that's it. That's the whole Friday Facts, which just feels like it was missing a giant chunk around, hey, we added circuit network to the radars, which, don't get me wrong, great feature. I love the feature. I like it. I hate running the wires down the train tracks. I hate even considering using them. If they're in a radar, I'd actually use them, possibly.
I hate running the wires because of a stubborn brute force application of a coding principle.
Yeah. And moving...
I should add that I do actually agree with the coding principle. It's the idea of hammering it in literally everything that I don't like.
Stamping it into everything, yeah. And the cutting wires and moving combinators is, again, it's an awesome feature. It's now part of base game, so I would never install any of these mods that let you move these things around. And I don't use combinators enough to ever bother installing one of these mods to do this. But now it's part of base game. I like to use it.
You're an end consumer of the circuit network blueprints, so you get the end result.
Yeah, I do.
Down the blueprint.
I do. I don't go around building
blueprinters that make it need picadolly.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like there's a whole bunch of mods I've installed in my Dyson Sphere install that lets me make blueprints easier. Do I recommend other people install them? No. They're not needed. Not unless you want to spend a whole lot of time designing a whole lot of blueprints and you want a way to quickly upgrade all the belts, or you quickly upgrade all the sorters or the machines or anything like that. Or change a recipe, you know. They're features inside the mod that is why I recommend the mod if you're doing that. If you're an end consumer, no, you don't need them. And as for the radar thing, it's just a hint coming that we're going to give you a super duper radar that will send signals between surfaces. Because the radar is limited
I'm
to
expecting that to come.
one surface. Yeah. Well,
we should also add that this has the same functionality as another mod, wireless circuit network.
Oh yeah.
Wireless circuit network has multiple channels that you can link the transmitters and receivers to.
But that has a standalone building, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a dedicated transmitter receiver receiver building.
Yeah. Whereas this is just plugging in the normal radar.
And radar.
Also, this is going to be infinite range. So one radar in the middle of the map, one an outpost.
Yeah, just links to the surface.
Yep. But yeah, it is a precursor to we're going to have something bigger and better, some sort of bigger directional radar dish that's going to aim at different places and therefore give us signals between surfaces. But I think that's it for this Friday Facts.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. As it turns out, it didn't cost anything.
Yep, and the next Friday Facts
is what I said last week.
403, which will be forbidden.
Yeah, that's the forbidden facts, which means you might get your biters, because that's the forbidden... Oh, no, the artillery sounds. That's the forbidden one.
Oh, yeah, artillery sounds. All right, so
the thing is, if I wasn't trying to be funny with the payment required, it'll be the microtransaction DLC one. I would have said it would just been some dumb miscellaneous things.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't say dumb. It's not dumb. What I mean is just simple little things.
Yeah, look,
miscellaneous.
These are nice features to have. I feel like there was a giant chunk of information missing from the Friday Facts. But yep, we're gonna leave this video here, and we'll see you guys next week for Friday Facts 403, the Forbidden Friday Facts. With my money still on biters. It's gonna be biters.
Oh, I don't even know what to predict this time.
Biters.
Biters? Should I go with the biters? It'll probably be probably be a new. I'm sort of expecting a new planet thing again. So there is potential for biters, or maybe just a higher level concept on different enemies. Especially because it's the forbidden one.
Forbidden one? Weapons. Okay.
Oh, weapons.
That,
Forbidden weapons.
yep.
There's a good one.
Yep. That's our prediction for this week. We'll see you guys next week for Friday Facts number 403. Either way, we're going to leave it here as always. Thank you for watching. Do hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. All right. Bye.
Bye bye.